Hello, I'm Aubrey Shepherd on the 27th of May 2015. Okay, that's Baptisia flower, bracteata. It's cream wild indigo and it's got a tiny insect on it. Okay, this is from the garden tour last weekend, and Lauren Hawkins is there, and you notice a tiny flower fly lit on the sign, I guess approving this year's version of the promotional sign. Anyway, that's Dick Bennett, founder of Omni Center for Peace, Justice, and Ecology, and Lauren Hawkins. There's Bob Beeson at World Peace Wetland Prairie, and he is an expert on these things, a former museum curator. And Lauren got a picture of the two of us together at my request, because we've never been photographed together as far as I know. That's, okay, let's jump forward. Bad mowing judgment. This little field off Cato Springs Road, a little wetland area, has been mowed. They mowed it when it was wet. You can see that. And you know what grows in that little area? Lots of wildflowers, including some valuable milkweed that was coming up in preparation of feeding monarch butterfly caterpillars. Okay, here's a tiny flower I can't name, but I like it. This is the Asclepias amplexicaulis. It's the sand milkweed or curly leaf milkweed. If you see some of these with the leaves, you'll know why. Or blunt leaf milkweed, because they come off together, the leaves in each spot. And of course the milkweed flowers are all structured very similarly, but the way they are spread over the inflorescence, you see these are scattered. You see how they separate. Now that's been through a lot of rain, so it was leaning down, and that's why I tried to capture it very close and get an idea of what it's like. See, the one behind it's also battered by the endless rainfall we've had in May this year. Okay, that's an attack bug, it's called by some experts, and in this case, it's on a quinine flower, white wild quinine. And yes, that's what they made drugs out of way back to the Indians, native species. This is a grass species that's very important, and I don't have time to think the name up at the moment. But here's Lonicera sempervirens, the native honeysuckle vine, the one you should keep and try to protect from other things overgrowing it. This is another milkweed. This is the common milkweed. I hope maybe next week I'll have some of these actually in bloom, but you can see how the flowers will be knotted together. They're very close to one another, as opposed to spread out as you saw in that amplexicaulis. This is Asclepias syriaca, and there's the same plant. That's the closest to being in bloom that I could get this week. And the sad thing is, this batch of common milkweed, Asclepias syriaca, is growing in a ditch along the railroad, and it's been mowed. So at least half or 3/4 of the plants that were just about ready to bloom along that street were mowed down in the last few days. Okay, here's the Asclepias purpurascens. It's the purple milkweed, and it's a beauty that you should also protect because they grow in places where they're often at risk. See ya. Hello, I'm Aubrey Shepherd on the 27th of May 2015 with some photos from Fayetteville, Arkansas. Okay, this is Asclepias viridiflora. This is a very small milkweed that's growing in a place that doesn't look very habitable, but milkweed's a persistent perennial plant that will just keep coming up. I think this land's been dug up, but these had deep enough roots that they came back, and you can see them at various angles there. But it's never very tall, a couple of feet is about the most. Here's another shot of a flower fly on a quinine plant. Those were popular with me this week. You recognize the little fox? Well, when I drove by that old house there and grown-up yard, and I saw three, and I was amazed, and I turned around a block down the street and came back by. There was only one then, and he was posed for me. The other two smartly hidden. Here's Mary Jordan with a couple of friends at World Peace Wetland Prairie on the garden tour day. And here's okay, I can't remember. Okay, this one I can remember. This is oxalis, and it's an unusual version of oxalis. And you see the leaves there, they're like clover, but see how they curl downward in many cases. And this is all these things are at Emily Cates' house. She was on the garden tour. And there's Emily. She's playing music for a couple of young ladies who were with, one of them's mother is there. And you see John Rule and Frank Burgraff, and we were at Burgraff's house, and he's a gardener. He's a real expert on plants, and so he has not only natives, he's got cultivars of natives and things in different colors. There's Professor Kennedy and his wife. They were on the garden tour, and ran into them at the Burgraff place. And Professor Kennedy's retired from university, but he's also well-known, long-time professor at the UA. And here there's a little consultation with Mr. Burgraff and Mr. Kennedy. And they were talking old times as well as specific plants. Okay, it left John Rule and Marty Burgraff and Jordan Miller, the late Miller Williams' wife. They were manning the table out there. Okay, we're over at another home, and it has a statue there it has a name, The Spirit of the She Tree by John Sewell. Don't know John, I guess, but masterwork in wood. And see a couple of angles of that, and around back, there's a lot of gardening going on. But here's John Rule with Gladys Tiffany, and they, of course, she was working the table there at the front door for that particular home. And you can see some people afterward got together to visit after the tour at Professor Bennett's house, and those are some of the gardening teams that you might have met if you were on the garden tour. And they're still talking about plants and philosophy. And I didn't get to every garden, so I don't have photos of those people's gardens. But anyhow, the picture here is of a young man who was rolling down the trail and almost got submerged when he got to the bridge or the trail where it goes under the bridge, the Town Branch Bridge on South School Avenue. And there's the reason constant flooding, frequent flooding occurs on these streams, and more this year than ever before. And you can see that young man got right to the edge of that there and see a little smushed grass to the left. That's where he dragged his bicycle out of there before he could have drowned. Okay, Regional National Cemetery Improvement Corporation booth at the National Cemetery. See ya.